بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Praise be to Allah for the guidance that we receive from Him, mindful that without that guidance we would have been lost and be misguided. We salute our holy Prophet, the most noble Prophet, and his pure progenies. قال أمير المؤمنين عليه الصلاة والسلام: ألا وإن إمامكم قد اكتفى من دنياه بطمريه ومن طعمه بقرصيه، ألا وإنكم لا تقدرون على ذلك ولكن أعينوني بورع واجتهاد. Your leader has confined his life to 2 shirts and 2 pieces of bread. I know that realistically you cannot do the same, but you can help me or assist me or support me with diligence and piety. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I start, I would like to take the opportunity and offer my condolence. These nights belong to the Imam, the nights of the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi. So we first would like to offer condolence to our living Imam and to all the brothers and sisters present or absent. The designated topic for tonight is a challenging one, to say the least. To speak about the life of the cousin of the Holy Prophet, his son-in-law, a person that his characteristic is so complex, as well as his contribution for Islam is so immense. I don't believe in such a short space of time one could do justice to explaining about his life beyond scratching of the surface. The daunting responsibility becomes even clearer when we have an understanding of what role Ali alayhi salatu wasalam played. On the one hand, when we look at the verse, the hadith that we have about the Holy Prophet regarding Ali alayhi salam, one particular hadith stands out, that you are like the soul in my body. Ya Ali, anta ruhi. And there is another hadith that says, anta nafsi. So on the one hand, the hadith is trying to explain that Ali represents the soul of prophethood. And another hadith, Aliyun ma'al Qur'an wal Qur'anu ma'a Ali, la yaftariqan hatta yarida alayya al-hawd. Ali and book, the Holy Qur'an, are inseparable. They will not separate until they come back to me on the day of judgment. So if we put these 2 hadiths together, Ali becomes the embodiment, the internalization of the spirit of the Holy Prophet, the soul of the Holy Prophet, as well as the spirit of Quran. So it becomes a bridge between the revelation on one side and the sunnah of the Holy Prophet on the other. And with such a description in ahadith, by the way, we have so many ahadith regarding this issue, both from the both major schools of thought, Sunnis and the Shias. It becomes daunting to be able to discuss or explain Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi's life in such a 10, 15, 20 minutes, while thousands of books have been written and articles about just one corner, one aspect, one dimension of this multifaceted, complex character. But we have to say something about Amir al-Mu'mineen and see what we can bring from his life into our life. To begin with, so that we understand, Islam looks at the concept of individual and society as two issues that they are intertwined, they are related to each other. And the same manner that when we look at verses in the Holy Quran, we see that under certain circumstance, an individual might come to an end because they do not submit to certain values in their life. So do nations and tribes. Once they become corrupt, disintegration is immediate. And to prevent this happening, Quran talks about the role of the role models. What Quran says as uswa, the role model in the individualistic sense as well as in the collective. But there is the relationship between the individual and the collective is the fact that for a society to become representing of an ideal or set of values, the members of that society must represent and internalize those values in themselves. We cannot ask for a just society if the individuals are not just. We cannot ask for a respectful or respecting society if the individuals do not respect each other, or the concept of respect is foreign to the individuals. So what we have, لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, that the Holy Prophet and by default Ahlul Bayt become the role model for us. What does that mean? For us to reflect on these individuals, not just on their character, but on the values and norms that they internalize and they become the embodiment of it. Once we reflect, we assess these norms and values, and finally we attempt to internalize those norms and values in our life. Ali stands for justice. There are a number of ahadith that says Ali was martyred because he stood for justice in the absolute sense. Ali was called the father of the orphans. And those of you who follow the ahadith, tomorrow night, according to the historians, after the martyrdom of the Imam, the orphans of Kufa found out that there was somebody that late at night would come and visit them, would cover his face so nobody would recognize it. It's only after martyrdom that they found out who that person was. His care for the poor and the needy within the society. Ali stands for equity and respect within the society. His renunciation of the world, the zuhd, and so on. These are values that Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi and Ahlul Bayt internalize. Now we have to reflect on these values and see how much we as members who follow Ahlul Bayt and claim to be the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Ahlul Bayt have actually reflected upon and internalized in our life. Islam, we see Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi in the khutbah that I gave here last Friday, he makes it clear. He moves for Islam and he steps back for Islam. He takes responsibility for Islam and he fights for Islam. He makes peace for Islam, so Islam becomes, and the interest of Islam becomes the defining factor for him. Do we do the same thing? Imam says, I understand that you cannot reach the level that I am, or the things that I do, because as an Imam, I have a responsibility towards everyone. And repeatedly in Nahj al-Balagha and other speeches and other commentaries, he makes this clear. In a letter that wrote to one of his representatives in Basra, after the governor of Basra under him, after he was invited to a rich man's house during the month of Ramadan, and to a table that was full of food, Imam criticized him. He said, how can you go and you indulge yourself to such a luxury while around you there were poor people that would not recognize the last time that they had a full stomach? You, as my representative, the same way that I am in charge of the community and I have to look and structure my life to the poorest of the poor level. In case on the day of judgment, a poor man or a poor family stands and challenges me that they did not receive the full value or the full right under my leadership, I can say that my life was not better than theirs, if it wasn't worse. This is the kind of leader that thinks about the lowest of the low, the poorest of the poor, and structures his life according to that. But can we do that? We certainly, Imam is realistic and says you cannot do it. But at least what you can do is to start struggling. Be God conscious. To be diligent in a sense that a small attempt to internalize some of these values in our life. We shouldn't just settle on biographical information. Yes, Ali was born on the 13th of Rajab, 30th after Aam al-Fil. He was born in Mecca, in Kaaba. He was the first man to convert to Islam after Khadija. And his contributions to Islam during his life is immense. We can list these. But what about the values and the norms that these individuals, they became uswa because of those norms and values in their life? Can we internalize some of this? Ali is the transmitter of the norms and values of the Holy Prophet, of the Quran. Can we really look at our lives and compare it to what these either himself or the rest of the Ahlul Bayt stood for? Ali was a unifying force. Can we really present Ali in this time, in this desperate time that we are looking for a unifying force that goes beyond the Shia and Sunni divide and politics and over it? How can we, what responsibility we have as Shias in going around and explaining about Ali and Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam? So these are challenges that we have to deal with. It's not just purely the biographical issue that we have to internalize. The values of Ahlul Bayt we have to internalize. To standing for justice, giving the poor the dues, being conscious of the hereafter, taqwa, and consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a force or some kind of a reality that internalizes our community. The famous story of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salam alayhi with his brother Aqil. as the Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader of the Muslim community. Aqil, his older brother who was blind around the end of his life, comes to him in Kufa and says, Ya Ali, you are in charge. You are the powerful leader. Give me extra from Baytul Mal because I have a large family. Imam plays the delaying tactic in case he understands that it's not possible. Ali is not the person with absolute justice that he believes in to succumb to this kind of demand. So he tells him one night, as Aqil comes and presents this idea, wait till late at night when the market is clear and I go and rob few shops for you and give them to you. Aqil says, Ya Ali, I didn't ask you to go and steal. I asked you to give me from Baytul Mal, which is under your command. Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi realizes that Aqil does not understand the enormity of the responsibility that he has and the kind of concept of justice that he applies. Says, okay, if you come tomorrow, I will give you the extra money. Because he was blind, Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi takes a piece of iron, puts it in fire and heats it up. Says, extend your hand. Puts it in the hand of his brother, Aqil. When he screams, he says, how can you scream from a small piece of metal that has been heated by a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to prove a point, and you are asking me to accept the responsibility and do an unjust thing and then confront Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on day of justice with the fire and the punishment. That kind of justice in the absolute form we cannot internalize, but we certainly can make a struggle to become just to a degree. When Talha and Zubair come to Amir al-Mu'mineen one night after his leadership in Medina, and they say, we have a conversation, a private conversation. Amir al-Mu'mineen asks, is this about the affair of the Muslims, or is it something to do with your own affairs? They say, no, this is something to do with our own affairs. The candle that was burning in Baytul Mal, and Ali was sitting down to write the account of Baytul Mal, he turns the candle off and goes into his own quarter and brings another candle out and lights the candle. They are perplexed. Why did he do that? He said, Ya Ali, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, why did you do that? He said, the candle that was burning first was purchased by Baytul Mal money. It has to be burned for the affairs of the Muslims. You have an internal private issue. I brought my own candle out so I would not burn anything from Baytul Mal. They packed up and left and organized Jamal. Because with such a degree of justice, we cannot negotiate. In being a Shia, there is a hadith that, truly speaking, there were 4 true Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen: Salman, Abu Dharr, Miqdad, and Ammar. The rest, they claim to be the followers. No matter how much we claim to be the follower of Ahlul Bayt and the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi, if our life is not the values that he stood for, are not internalized in our life, that it only becomes lip service to what he stands for. We have reached almost the end of my time. I'll try to see if tomorrow night we continue as a second, instead of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy Anil Munkar, second part of the same life of Amir al-Mu'mineen to be continued. But until then, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the privilege to be among the true followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen by internalizing the values that he stood for and Ahlul Bayt stood for in our life. No matter, even small amount is better than nothing. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.